Welcome in, everyone. This is another edition of the Full-Time Roundup podcast. It is your host, Daniel Brackett. Joined alongside me, Harrison Clark. Harrison, it was a good weekend of sports, a wild college football weekend, some good NFL, and then, of course, the soccer. The soccer was glorious. Charlotte FC played their last home game of the season. We will have a play-in match at Bank of America. I'm looking forward to that. Just locked in tickets when we host. But my friend, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. It was a good soccer weekend. The games in general were a lot of fun to watch. I mean, you mentioned the CLT boys. I mean, Patrick Agimong is him. I
Yeah.
like that guy way too much a little bit right now. But other than that, quality sports weekend, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped. Charlotte FC and UNC Charlotte winning their respective games on the same day.
How about those
It's
Niners?
it's a fantastic feeling. I'm wearing my Niner green as we speak. Still happy from my sports teams just ignoring the Panthers, as that was pathetic. But it's the most pathetic franchise we have, so can't really get mad at calling a spade a spade. But we're going to keep it pretty tight here, just because it is international break, and quite frankly, I'm pretty upset about it. The Champions League, Europa League, Europa Conference League midweek matches have honestly just made the weeks go by so quickly. Especially, it's a Monday or Tuesday through Thursday. You have games all like literally from noon all the way through 5. So, I do work hard, but it's nice like when I'm watching a game during the quick breaks, it just makes the day go by fast. So it's gonna be a battle this week, I think, for me, and definitely next week as well. Um, but to kind of jump into it, the Premier League, um, we've sort of touched on this before, but Manchester City, Arsenal, and Liverpool all won the three contenders, you could probably say, for the Premier League title, but none of these teams are winning that convincingly. So I wanted to go through each of their results and then kind of talk about other state of the Premier League. But starting with Manchester City, because they're probably the bookies' favorites at this point, they they had a really tough game against Fulham here. They won 3-2, which is a very uncharacteristic game for Manchester City. But this Fulham team were finding holes all over this team, and to be honest, I think Fulham could be probably a little bit upset they didn't at least get a tie here. On another day, being more clinical, they probably could have won this match outright.
No question. I'm thinking about. If Adama Traore could just find a way
To
to
put the ball in the
finish,
back of the net, it's nuts.
the guy would arguably be one of the most lethal players in the world. Like, you put together his speed, his size, and if he just had more finishing ability, this guy would be unbelievable. And he had a chance one-on-one with Ederson in the first half that Ederson saved. He had another chance right in front of the net, I believe, either late in the first or in the second half. He put over the bar. Um, Fulham played a great game, and they were hitting on transition a lot through Traore, putting it in behind, letting him run after it because nobody's going to catch him. There was one moment I think in the second half where it was Traore and Kyle Walker one-on-one, and he dusted him, and I was like, holy cow! Like, is Walker actually like washed now, or is Adama just him? But um, Fulham had great chances. I think about the Pereira goal, the first goal, that back heel flick
Raul,
from
stop
Raul.
it.
He might be back actually.
He
Raul
is back.
Jimenez.
He is back.
He had a couple off years the past couple. I know he's been affected by injury a good amount, but he started to really pick it up for this Fulham team, and frankly taking the place of a Rodrigo Munez who was unreal to end the year last year. So that's big ups to him. But Fulham had their chances, no question. But it just shows you that Man City, I mean, they just find ways to win, and nobody can really seem to solve that formula right now. They get 2 goals from Mateo Kovacic. Like, sure, yeah,
Not Rodri, but Mateo's stepping up in a big way in that City midfield.
no question. And if Holland's not the one putting the balls in the back of the net right now, you need to find somebody else to do it. And Kovacic is definitely doing that. And then Doku hit an absolute banger to finish it off. So, I mean, that goal was nasty.
Doku!
That thing was dipping and swerving, and Leno had no idea what that ball was doing in the air. But again, City just find ways to win, despite Fulham, I think, playing a really solid game. And Fulham shouldn't be upset. Or they should be upset probably that they weren't able to finish, but they shouldn't be upset with the kind of performance that they put in against one of the best teams in the world.
Yeah. I would say like Friday night, I was kind of looking at the slate, just kind of deciding, what games I wanted to watch, what games I didn't. And then I had like some innate feeling. I was like looking at the table because I feel like me and you especially, we go through and really talk about that weekend's results. But there are times where I'll go and look at the table and be like, oh my God, like I can't believe, with a more zoomed out view, this team is here. And this Fulham team is 8th right now after this result. I think they were higher before. And, their results have been phenomenal. I think we mentioned how, Marco Silva's done a fantastic job over there, but I had some innate feeling that they'd show up to this one. And I was like, maybe it's head-to-head record. I've seen this before. Not the case. City usually blows the doors off of Fulham. I just had a feeling. And then, the game opens and Fulham has the first like really good 3 opportunities. And of course, City just does the inevitable. But yeah, no, I was very impressed with this team. Adama Traore is probably the best athlete in the Premier League. No questions asked. I mean, Walker is definitely getting up there in age and, that's pretty apparent, but he still keeps up with most players these days, I feel like.
But even Adama's not that old, or isn't that young anymore. Like, he's relative. I don't even know their ages, but
Adama's 28. Walker's like in his 30s. But I mean, Adama also, you just have to look at the guy. The guy is insanely jacked.
When he oils the arms up.
Yeah, because people literally that's the only advantage of like keeping up with him is just grabbing onto him. So he'll literally get himself slippery so people can't keep up. But the guy's nuts. He came from La Masia. He's, for the last, 8 to 10 years, everyone knows who Adama Traore is because he always had the raw athleticism. It was if he could put everything else together. People have still been asking that question for the last decade because it still hasn't happened. And I don't think it'll ever happen at this point. But he's starting in this Fulham team and he's making a difference. So maybe, a couple really good games will get him rolling and we can look back at this, clip here and be like, okay, well, maybe we were wrong. But that's the first game I wanted to talk about. City just don't look as good as they usually are, which is going to be a really fun Premier League race continually.
I think we're already starting to see signs, especially from Vegas, that Arsenal have now become the favorite to win the title.
Have they?
Officially by betting odds. And I think a large portion of that is because Rodri is so important to that team. You take him out, and even though Kovacic scores 2, you think about long term, if he's able to fill that kind of void, it remains to be seen. And with Arsenal's undefeated start, I guess part of me isn't really that surprised.
Yeah, let's talk about Arsenal. I've seen cracks in the foundation as well here. This is, the second game in a row where they've played an inferior opponent. They played Leicester last week and they played Southampton, 2 arguably relegation sides. Struggled tremendously. It was 0-0 at half. Of course, Southampton score the first goal and then Arsenal start to sweat, start to try really hard. And they end up scoring 3 goals. Kind of like how they were against Leicester, where they won 4-2, but Leicester made it super interesting. Obviously, be proud of the result, be proud of the character. They had a big match against PSG midweek, blah, blah, blah. But this is a very unsustainable way to play. If you play a better team and do this, you will probably lose the game or draw. They're just lucky they've done this against two really bad teams. And I think they miss Odegaard a lot. They had plenty of chances in this one. It wasn't a lack of performance. It was just not putting the ball in the back of the net. You'll never get me to back Arsenal to win a Premier League because they have Kai Havertz and Gabriel Jesus leading the line with Martinelli on the left. Those guys just are not elite, in my opinion, and they never will be. So, starting 4 center backs and not conceding any goals, will, take you far. I just don't think it'll take you to a Premier League title.
Yeah, I mean, Odegaard just drives so much play going forward that you can see when he's not in there, and you're starting Rice, who isn't really as comfortable going forward, and you're starting Jorginho, that it's like you don't get that kind of offensive explosion that you're probably capable of with Odegaard in there. Got to give credit to Saka. He played a hell of a game, goal and 2 assists. I mean, with no Odegaard, you need him. You need him to be the driver of the offense. Like you mentioned, I don't think that Havertz or Jesus are elite by any means, but also at the same time, like Kai scores kind of when it matters most sometimes, which is strange. I mean, anytime I think of Kai, obviously I think of him for his Champions League goal and the joy he brought me at Chelsea for that moment alone. But a lot of times it feels like, and we saw it in the Euros too, that he backed some goals there, that he finds ways to get involved when they need him the most. And you just kind of wish that he would turn up for, larger stretches of the game. But he gets his goal to at least tie it because Southampton had taken the lead early in the second half and we didn't know what the hell was going on. So, I mean, that goal probably did inject some sort of life into them because obviously they couldn't find anything before that. And the way that they were able to battle back is encouraging. Still some signs that, there's a lot to improve on and how they're going to fill Odegaard's hole, but they're still undefeated. And I guess at this point, it's wow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I wasn't very impressed with Sterling either.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe that'll take time.
I just don't know. I don't know what Arsenal fans are exactly expecting from him.
I don't know what I expect from Sterling anymore. I mean, I feel like he's been in the Premier League for so long. He's done so well at most clubs. He's also been playing for a very long time. I mean, I think he was in the Liverpool starting XI at 18 and then played and was one of the best players for Manchester City for 5 years after he made that move. So, this his Chelsea stint and this stint is probably on the downturn. I think he will drop off quicker than most do. So once the 31, 32, I think he'll be, he definitely won't be the same player he was, but I mean, he's still 29. He hasn't even hit 30 yet. So you would, it is wild to think about, but you would expect a little bit more from a player. And he had chances. He just classic Sterling stuff. So I don't know. Maybe he'll step up his game when Arsenal need it most during this long season. It is a long season. We're only seven games in. But I did want to at least touch on that. Now, I'm not going to really talk too much about this Liverpool game just because I don't really think there's much to talk about other than Jota could have probably had a hat trick in the first half. He did score the goal and Cody Gakpo got the assist, which, I'm a gigantic fan of Cody Gakpo. So every time he comes in, I expect him to do something really well. I was very happy with Curtis Jones as well, stepping in for Dominic Szoboszlai. I mean, I just love our midfield and our front. I mean, I love our whole team, to be honest. But Gravenberch, McAllister, with whoever else you want in there as the attacking mid is just so dominant in the Premier League. And then, Salah still rolling back the years here. He'll have a stinker every once in a while, but, when you need him most, he's going to step up with the big goal. I do have one issue, though, and I'm starting to understand why Liverpool is signing I don't even know how to pronounce the guy's name, the Georgian goalkeeper. Mm-hmm. Alisson might be the most injury-prone goalkeeper I've ever met. I mean, I know this is not a betting show. This is a soccer show, but I did have a financial interest on Liverpool. And Queen Kelleher was not in the squad. So we tried out that third string keeper who hasn't played in forever, never played in the Premier League before.
He had a great
And
save.
yeah, he did. And I was very nervous. And so Queen is going to, probably be the goalkeeper again for the next couple of weeks after the international break. But I mean, Allison, you're a goalkeeper, dude. You cannot be pulling your hamstring like that. That is crazy. It was a pretty funny tweet. It was like the video or the picture of the guy. It's like, I'm not the father, I'm the stepfather or whatever. And it's like Queen Kelleher this year because I feel like he has stepped in the last like 5 seasons, at least one month of the season, and has just like been incredible. So thank God we have a really good backup keeper, or Liverpool would be in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, Allison missed 10 games in the Prem last year because of injury. And, I don't know the exact status of this injury this time around, but it does seem that he recently has been pretty injury prone. And it's a good thing for Liverpool that Kelleher is there because I think he's a very quality backup. I mean, I get nightmares thinking about the cup final against them, but
yeah,
I think Slot, he just has some tough decisions, I think, with who he wants to start some games. Like Gakpo this year has been very good off the bench in particular. And Luis Diaz has been one of their main contributors as well. And you're not going to bench Mo. So I think that it's kind of it's a tough situation, I think, especially for Gakpo, because I think Diaz is the favorite. But, you can't be mad, or he can't be mad with his performances, and it's all in the coach's hands. I mean, he had an unreal Euros too, like arguably the best player at the Euros.
Yeah.
He still can't get into this Liverpool team. I mean, it's a tough situation, I think, for Slot to handle.
It is, and it's a completely different look tactically too. Diaz will just he's like more over the top, more like electric.
Mm-hmm.
Gakpo's just, he's just so technically sound that he just makes things happen with his just ability. He cuts in a lot. Diaz is definitely more dynamic, but if you're looking for something different, then I think Gakpo is your guy. Curtis Jones, Dominic Szoboszlai, same debate. Curtis Jones is technically more gifted, but Dominic Szoboszlai, just especially defensively, is an absolute monster. Just is the leader of our press. Just covers so much ground, so that's a tough one. And then you have Jota over Nunez. Right now, Jota is the clear favorite, but Jota also drops these stinkers. But the next game, he'll usually bag one if he plays badly. So it's about balancing, the difference between having Darwin Nunez off the bench versus Jota. Jota still deserves it, in my opinion, the starting role right now, but we'll have to see as the season progresses. Also, just the last thing about Liverpool, Virgil, Mo, and Trent are all in their last contract year. Haven't really mentioned it because I was expecting business to be done. It looks more and more dire as the days go on. I'm pretty confident in Mohamed Salah staying just because he's chasing records here, and it's probably in his best interest to stay. A little bit same with Verge, but when it comes to Trent, he's probably my favorite player, and he's probably going to go to Madrid. This Jude Bellingham content right now is making me sad, upset, and I'm simply scared. So there's that. Some other key games across the league. We mentioned how Brentford scored 3 times in a row in the first minute. Well, they didn't do the first minute, but they did the second minute. So, I mean, we're talking about the best team in the first 5 minutes in history. I think it's got to be. I mean, 4 games in a row with a goal before the 3-minute mark is just incredible. They absolutely laid the wood against Wolves. And this Wolverhampton team, don't look now, they are bottom. Don't remember them being bottom. They've been, results-wise, terrible. I feel like when they played Liverpool, they looked pretty good. But I think we might see the first domino fall with Gary O'Neill here this international break.
Wouldn't be surprised. I mean, their defense is so bad. It's so bad,
We
dude.
sold
Like,
Kilman. What'd you expect?
I don't know. I don't know. But it's just they can't keep balls out of the back of their net. Um, yeah, Brentford, I don't know what they're like putting into their energy drinks right before the game, but it's something real special. Scoring in the second minute this game. And Buemo gets another goal on a penalty. I mean, honestly, like they're kind of firing on all cylinders right now. I really like this Brentford team a lot,
Yep.
and I think that they can finish in the top half, which would be a huge accomplishment already for Frank, especially when you lose Tony. Like the fact that they're able to get this much production um, says a lot, I think, about Frank and the mentality and the kind of culture he's building right now at Brentford. So that's a really good win for them. And for Wolves, yeah, it's looking pretty dire. I don't know. I just don't know how they're gonna stop keeping the ball out of the back of the net. Like they just have nothing back there. Like they played good against Liverpool, but even against Chelsea, they conceded 6. So it's unfortunate. Gary O'Neill's job could be on the line here.
Their attackers are great. It is right, the defense. I mean, Cunha's putting balls in the back of the net. They have Guedes, Wang, Larson, who's looked good. Lamina, Forbes, the Ajax kid, looks good. So, yeah, no, I mean, the Craig Dawson at 34, not going to cut it.
Mm-mm.
And then Tati Gomes, who I don't even know. And this is without even saying that Ryan Aitnuri, he's going to be gone very soon. He is a fantastic player. So their best defender is probably going to be bought in January. So not feeling so good about Wolves. I do think they'll be able to save themselves from relegation if they go ahead and sack Gary O'Neill. But you never know. In terms of this Brentford team, they were dreadful last year, and it's because they made big signings and then kind of flopped. Well, now you have Mikel Damsgaard finding his feet in the second year, looking a lot better. Had 2 assists today. Lewis Potter is looking pretty good, and then Kevin Shades still doesn't do it for me. But they these young signings that they made a year ago are starting to find their feet, and then you mix in Vandenberg and Fabio Carvalho from Liverpool coming in with some experience. And I feel like that's been the difference. So I'm glad that Thomas Frank is doing well. And they're a fun side as they, constantly, I feel like, punch above their weight, even with some injuries to Vissa and a couple other, star players. West Ham finally won at home. Finally got off the board. I was thinking maybe Lopetegui would be the first domino to fall here to get fired. Well, they beat the crap out of Ipswich, and it seems like his job is safe for now. I think. I mean, Mikel Antonio bagged one finally, so there's that. And so that that front 3 or 4 looked deadly to start the season, and they finally put up some goals here. Ipswich are bad. Liam Delap keeps scoring bangers. So I just wanted to mention that game as we were expecting maybe Lopetegui to fall on his sword here shortly.
I'm not that surprised. I think Ipswich had the really emotional, quality result against Villa last time out.
Yeah,
it's probably going to be tough for them to come back and put 2 really solid performances together, especially at West Ham, a team who needs wins. It felt like kind of a tough spot for Ipswich, honestly. And West Ham smacked them in the face right away, scoring in the first minute. So, I mean, it was uphill from there. Delap is really encouraging for them, I think. That guy is scoring at will right now, at least in the last 2 games.
Scores bangers.
Yeah, like him a lot, Hoss. But big win for West Ham. I always kind of thought that it would be a little soon still for Lopetegui. I mean, he's still getting adjusted, I think, to all these players, but they obviously do have higher expectations this year with the kind of signings that they made. I think it's encouraging also that Kudus scored.
Slow start.
He's so talented, and I feel like sometimes he gets lost in that team a little bit just because even though he is arguably the most skillful player besides Paqueta on their team, I think that sometimes their lack of finishing sometimes up top makes him not look as good as he actually is. I think he's an absolute baller. So him getting on the board, I think, also is a really good sign for West Ham, and we'll see if they're able to find some sort of consistency.
Absolutely. Probably the biggest result of the weekend, Brighton, Hove Albion beating Spurs, coming back from a 2-0 down 2-0, and they score 3 goals in the second half. I mean, if you're Spurs, man, the most Spursy result ever. You're up 2-0, Johnson, Madison, the boys are buzzing, and then you just completely lose your head in the second half. Just unacceptable. Ange didn't even know what to say after the game. And you have Brighton that are sixth and Tottenham that are ninth. Just not a good start. We'll see if they can kind of flush the bad result out of them during the international break. But it feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step back for the Spurs team, like usual.
Again, I don't think like the performances are that bad though. Like it's like they're not even playing, I don't think, that poorly. It's just the way that they're kind of set up with their high line. It's possible that they're going to concede goals, and that's what's been happening recently. Um, like you mentioned, they had a great first half, and they were exposing Brighton, but also, you know, Tottenham doesn't necessarily play as aggressive of a line, but it's still pretty high, and Brighton's able to expose them right back. And there was a flurry for like 7 minutes, and Brighton scores 3, and all of a sudden the game's been flipped on its head. I want to give my shout out to Danny Welbeck, because the guy is completely. You could argue Danny Welbeck right now with Brighton is playing the best football of his career, and it's kind of insane. I mean, the guy at Man U, he was young, he was learning from everybody there, but now he's established, and he's been riddled with injuries in the past. He's getting his chance now again at Brighton, and he's showing out. And really, since he's been at Brighton, I think he's been very consistent for them. So having him up top, Matoma put in a really good performance as well. Once he is a real threat for them, I think that Brighton are even more dangerous with how high they press. He's able to create stuff. I like Brighton a lot. It's just a matter of if they're able to keep the ball also out of the back of their own net, and if they don't shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah. Ruter, 2 goals in 2 games now. He's getting hot. The signing from Leeds. Always been a big fan of Ruter, so glad to see he's kind of hit the ground running. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and I just don't know if this is like a Premier League sustainable style of play. I think that everyone has to evolve. I saw Jurgen Klopp evolve. I've seen Pep Guardiola evolve. I've seen Mikel Arteta evolve. And all 3 of these coaches that I named have evolved to try to challenge. And I just don't know, even with the talent that Spurs have accumulated, I just don't see. They have to make some sort of adjustment, in my opinion. So, disappointing. I also saw that Welbeck is now has outscored some absolute legends in the Prem in terms of Premier League all-time goal scorer, and it's just hilarious. He has been playing, and he's strictly played in the Premier League his entire career too. So I guess that kind of makes up for it. But there was some good banter online.
He's seasoned.
Now you have Aston Villa tie United. This was a really boring game, so I don't really want to talk about it that much. But I just wanted to ask you, was that result enough to keep Ten Hag's job? Because I think it's literally a coin flip.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat.
This is the time to do it.
It's their worst Premier League start. Is it ever?
It might be.
I think it's ever. Their worst Premier League start ever.
14th.
Yeah. Yeah, I think his job's on a knife's edge right now, honestly. I think this result, while it's Manchester United and you expect them with the kind of talent and the name itself to take care of Aston Villa, just if you're looking from the outside, I think that this result might have bought him a little more time, at least past this break, I think. But it's still completely up in the air. I think that also they probably had the feeling that they don't want to make a coaching change just because they had the courage to even stand with him this offseason. You don't want to necessarily make a move in the middle of the year and change things completely up. But I think at this point, I think you need change. I don't know. It's kind of stubborn. Like, look at the Browns still starting Deshaun Watson when they fucking suck. It's the same thing. I think you're just like, you're doing the same thing over and over again with nothing completely changing. I would love to see Van Nistelrooy get an opportunity to manage it like himself as his first gig. I know it's like a lot of pressure, but I don't know. Throw him in there. If you look at Tuchel, he's always a good option. I think there's options out there for them, but I still think that they still don't know what they're going to do.
Thomas Tuchel needs to be the Manchester United coach. I mean, if Rashford is mouthing he's gone mad after getting subbed, I can't imagine what he's going to say when Thomas Tuchel becomes the Manchester United coach. That's going to be amazing. Yeah, I mean, Ten Hag, you're a terrible coach. You have benched, the most expensive signings that you've signed the last 3 years.
Is he a better coach than Solskjaer was?
No, I don't think so. Solskjaer finished third one season.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could. I don't think Solskjaer won silverware, and of course Ten Hag did. So, I guess if you're talking trophies, but I mean, if you're talking situation, Manchester United beat a hungover Manchester City team who just completed the treble. So I don't know if they were the most motivated they could possibly be to win that FA Cup. I also don't think the FA Cup means as much as it used to.
That's probably true.
So
definitely true, actually. I'll say definitely true.
So I don't know. You also had the worst UCL campaign of like all time last year, and your Europa one is not off to a hot start here either. So plus every single player you're playing hates the coach. Somehow Onana still has the clean sheets. That's literally the only good statistic.
He's been good, actually.
He's been good. But they're not scoring goals. Their captain is getting red cards now consistently. And you're starting Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire in 2024. And
that's crazy to me.
You bench both your starting center backs.
Yeah, that is wild to me that it's come to that, but also like I guess you're looking for something.
If he didn't have the emergence of Kobe Mainu, he probably would have been long gone. I think that bought him a job and some good results against City and Liverpool, but I think when you're on the international break and you have 2 weeks to kind of let the dust settle, I think go ahead and you've been waiting for this moment. You'll see how Van Nistelrooy does, and then from there, you kind of start lining up a Potter or a Tuchel or someone like that to see if they can kind of make a difference. So we'll have to see. Everton, another Everton tracker here. They won or they tied. So against Newcastle, felt pretty good about that one. And then your team ties against Forest. I tried to let the listeners know I had a good feeling about Forest here. It's not a bad result because Forest are actually pretty cracked this year. They're 10th right now, so tough team to beat. But top four is Liverpool, City, Arsenal, and Chelsea. Liverpool with a 1 point lead, no big deal. I was posing the question: do you think this top four? Do we have our top four teams? Not in a particular order. But do we have our top four teams?
Yes, I think so.
I agree.
I don't think it's not in that order. It's not going to be in that order. I don't think, unfortunately, for Liverpool. But I do think that is the top four. I don't. Before the year, I think I said Newcastle would be in the top four. I haven't really been that confident watching Newcastle at all this year. No. And I know Isak's out, but they don't give me any hope really at all.
Yeah.
And Brighton, like they're in sixth right now. I can't see them managing to
inconsistent.
Keep the ball out of their net enough.
Yeah.
I just think they're going to be playing in too many of these, crazy track games where it's like you don't even know what's going to happen. So
maybe the funnest team to watch in the Prem, though.
I mean, dude, Brighton Tottenham this weekend, like that's a game on crack. Like I know first half of Chelsea and Brighton was maybe actual crack, but Brighton Tottenham back and forth, two teams who love to attack. Like that's, as a fan, like that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to agree. I mean, I just didn't expect Chelsea to be this functional, I guess is the best word.
Even Maresca said, I think in his presser, because they were asking him like, how do you feel about going to the next
over the moon.
The international break and you're in top four? He's like, we don't really think about that, but if you asked me before the year, I mean,
pretty happy.
I think he was like, I think he wanted to say like, honestly, no, probably because we played horrible in the preseason, but like it's a brand new team. You got to implement a lot of stuff, and it usually doesn't kick in until later. Like I've been super impressed with Chelsea.
And Cole Palmer, I mean, he had a touch today, the first touch around the guy outside the foot, and it wasn't a goal.
Double save.
But it was one of the most magical first touches I've seen in a very long time. I mean, it made me feel a certain type of way. Let's just say that. So
nasty.
I'm liking this Chelsea. If Cole Palmer gets injured, you guys are in a hell of a lot of trouble. But if Cole Palmer, which is great that you're doing load management for him and not doing the Europa Conference League, if he stays healthy, yeah, you guys top four locked up. I just don't think Villa has the depth to keep, punching above their weight. So I wanted to, kind of end the conversation there, but I do agree with you. This is kind of the top four through week 7. I just don't see, maybe Brighton or Villa could creep up there, but over, a long season, 36 games, I believe it is. These are the 4 that I feel pretty confident in staying there. Bundesliga. Absolute fantastic game here. Bayern Munich tie Eintracht Frankfurt. Another underdog that I try to give out. Is it Oscar Marmouche? It's something with an O.
Oliver, I think.
Omar.
Neither of us. Just
Omar Marmouche just literally just carried his team to a draw. This guy, 6 matches, 8 goals, 4 assists. He had 2 goals and an assist in this game alone.
Mm-hmm.
Bayern's defense had no clue how to fend. And, they probably felt bad that they were just giving this guy open grass because they both, Upamecano and Min-Jae Kim, scored off 2 respectable corners. But this game was absolutely bonkers. Everything I pointed out about Bayern kind of was shown in this match, where they're really good going forward, still really suspect defensively. But honestly, I thought Bayern completely threw away these 3 points here, and Eintracht Frankfurt should feel pretty happy here. And if I'm company, I'm pretty pissed off.
Yeah, I think anytime that you get a result against Bayern, you're happy. I think Bayern, Marmouche scores the late goal to tie the game, and that place kind of just went crazy. Frankfurt's had a really, really good start to the year. I'm encouraged a lot by them. I think Marmouche and Ekitike going forward make them so dangerous. Like, aren't they? They're second right now, I believe.
Yeah. I also just found they're third, actually.
Okay.
Somehow Leipzig's second. I've been calling for Rose's Head and they're second. I don't know how that's possible.
And they did beat Leverkusen on the road.
I guess they did. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Don't
think they're listening to your takes on their coach.
No, they're not. They're probably very happy with Marco, but I'm not. Just found something out on the spot that you mentioned. Yeah, they are third in Bundesliga right now. Dino Topmuller is their coach. Do you know where he was before this?
I don't.
Bayern Munich assistant coach.
This game meant a little more to him, I would say.
He knew exactly where to poke the holes in that Bayern defense. That's what I'm going to say. Very impressed because, replacing Glasner and Frankfurt have been good. But, I mean, this is a really young team. I mean, a lot of these guys are, wonder kids or guys that, you don't have many, veterans in this team, and to go and to face a pretty strong Bayern side, that's really impressive. So, credit to them. It was a fantastic game. Definitely watch the highlights if you missed it. But
how do we not have this? How do we not have that over on the sheet?
Yeah. No, I don't know how I missed that one. I don't know how I missed that one. But you know why I think Bayern should be really pissed? Because probably and arguably their challenger, Bayer Leverkusen, absolutely threw points away against one of the worst teams in the entire Bundesliga, Holstein Kiel. You're up 2-0 and you throw away a 2-0 lead, and you have plenty of opportunities to go ahead, and just bad defending. It was just bad. And it was a goal from a penalty in a corner just out of nowhere too. Like, it wasn't just like, Kiel started to play their way into the match. They just smash and grab. I just cannot believe we didn't see an extra time goal here for Bayer Leverkusen.
Maybe the most stunning result we'll see all year. Not even kidding. I thought this game was going to be 8-0 after 10 minutes. It was 2-0. I was 2-0 Leverkusen, I think, after 10.
It was.
And I thought this game, I thought they would have to implement the high school mercy rule. Like, I thought that it was going to get really out of hand. And I could not believe my eyes when the final whistle blew and it was 2-2. I was dumbfounded. Leverkusen had the ball the entire game.
They don't lose at home either.
Literally, Kiel had
unstoppable at home.
Yeah, and Kiel could have taken the lead late in the second half.
Yep.
Leverkusen's goalie made a hell of a save on a cross for a header that was bound to go in. So really, I'm just puzzled by the result. Honestly, I couldn't really believe what I was watching. I guess. Shout out to Kiel. And for Leverkusen, like, just can't happen. Just can't happen at all.
Nope. Can't happen. I mentioned Leipzig earlier, that they get back to winning ways with an absolute gritty win against Heidenheim. Really surprised they honestly got 3 points out of that, to be honest. Openda with a...
You hate Leipzig.
I do. I'm not even going to hide my bias
they're
here.
On the hate list.
They are. They already are on the hate list. And then, we might have to add Dortmund on this one. They lose to Union Berlin. Dortmund might be bigger frauds than Leipzig. I'm gonna give Sahin some time here. They were also, they just got injured with Adeyemi. So that obviously hurts. But other than that, you're basically fully healthy. Can't be losing to Union Berlin. Union Berlin's doing well this season. I don't know how they're doing well after they should have gotten relegated last year. They're in 6th place right now, so props to them. But yeah, that's just not a good result. They should have lost to Bochum a week before, and they blew out a really bad Celtic team to make it all okay. So, wanted to mention that result. Now going to the La Liga, Barca, just nothing really new there. Just they blow Alaves out of the water 3-0 at halftime. No goals scored in the second half. Just kind of cruising to victory. The captain Rafinha just you could argue he's playing better than Lewandowski, and Lewandowski is the top goal scorer in the entire La Liga. Rafinha has 5 goals and 4 assists and 9 apps. Lewandowski at age 36, 10 goals and 2 assists in 9. So just cracked. Lamine Yamal, somehow they just keep trotting him out there to play. Getting kind of concerned about the amount of game time he's getting, but
he's young.
But we've seen Gavi back in training, which is, we'll probably see him after the international break, which is good. Fati's making his way back in as a sub. We'll see if
I just forget about him, man.
We'll see if he can get anywhere near back to his best. That guy was a stud. He was Lamal before Lamal was Lamal, and they got some interesting young. I really like this Paul Victor kid who's 22 years old. So we'll see, but they're pretty comfortably ahead here because Atletico Madrid throw away 3 points with an absolute wonder goal from Luka Susic, just a Puska's contender here. So Atletico continue to be one of the weirder teams. The handicap, and then Real Madrid. This could have been, a line in the sand game for them. I had a bad feeling about it. You were pretty confident they'd bounce back. They did bounce back 2-0 at home, thanks to a Vinicius absolute rocket for the second goal. But I expected a more entertaining match here. I was pretty disappointed.
Yeah, me too, as a over better. But sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles, and I can't necessarily say that. We do have Villarreal on the love list, and I probably jinxed the entire game by saying that they haven't missed an over at all this year. So good call. Hare will remember to not say anything like that ever again. But yeah, Real, I expected the bounce back, and they got it. I mean, I've actually liked Villarreal a lot to start this year. I think they've been really fun to watch.
Good chances too. They had chances.
Yeah, I mean, and frankly, you're going to get chances when you play against Real Madrid. It's something I wouldn't necessarily always say in the past, but they've just been so fraudulent defensively that they're going to give teams opportunities, and Villarreal didn't take them this game. And
guess who got hurt too, just to make it worse?
Yeah, I know.
Danny Carvajal, ACL.
That was bad, dude. I actually felt like watching back that clip, my man, you could hear him outside the Bernabeu. That was,
yeah. He knew what happened immediately.
Yeah. I think everybody knew what
happened. There was no walking that one off.
He's out for the year, yeah.
He's getting up. He's out for the year. Yeah, he's getting up there in age too. So that might be one of the last times you see Danny Carvajal in not only a Real Madrid shirt, but I mean, what Lucas Vasquez backing him up?
That's always been the replacement, hasn't it? Which is kind of crazy.
I don't think so.
Which is why Trent is probably going there next year.
That is true. Literally, I have one hope here, Harry. One hope. They panic buy someone in January because they literally have to.
Mm-hmm.
And that guy ends up panning out where they don't need to spend. I guess he's a free agent, which would make it even worse for Trent, but they don't need to spend big money on Trent at that point.
Yeah. I mean,
I hope he resigns.
They can find, I mean, I know you do. I know you hope he resigns. I don't know. Just seems like the stars are aligning.
Yeah. Pedro Porro, there you could get some good right back shots for that Real Madrid January transfer. Maybe we sell him in January to at least get a profit here. I doubt that happens, but that's not really how Florentino Perez rolls. But wanted to mention that. So Real Madrid already fraud defensively, just got a lot more fraudulent defensively, in my opinion. Maybe you play Alfonso. No, he's still on Bayern. Sorry.
Thought he was going to go there.
I did too. For Lemini, Fran Garcia, one of those guys on the right side. We'll have to see. Not really sure how that's going to go. And then leading or closing off today's conversation with some Calcio, Fonseca losing to Fiorentina. I think 3 wins, 2 draws, 4 losses out of the first 7 or 8. Not good. Not good. And then you name a penalty taker who happens to be the American captain, Pulisic. He takes none of the penalties. They miss both of them, Tammy Abraham and Teo Hernandez, and then they lose the game. This was also one of the 2 games, first time I've ever seen this. 2 separate games on Sunday had 3 penalties taken, and all 3 were misses or saves. In this case, even more insane, the goalkeepers saved all 3 of these. De Gea with 2, Magnan with 1, all on frame. I don't know about the Athletic Club one, but they missed 3. That game with Girona, that was bonkers as well. Got red cards, got everything. Both finished 2-1 with 3 penalty misses. You're not going to see that very often. So wanted to point that out.
Hey, shout out Pulisic. He scored again.
Good. He did. Gorgeous goal, too.
Yeah. I mean, every goal right now is just kind of insane. I saw him and Abraham arguing over the second penalty. I mean,
Abraham arguing with him. He knows he's the penalty taker.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah. I don't know. It's right when I thought Milan was starting to put it together, they drop one. They dab De Gea.
Yeah, not good. The tech on Pulisic's goal, I mean, that's just, he made it look really easy. It is not easy.
Yeah.
It's not.
He's in form. He's so in form right now.
He's buzzing. Roma tie Monza, so they might fire their coach again and then rehire De Rossi. I was seeing it on X. I don't think that happens, but that club is just bonkers right now. And then Juventus, disgusting tie to Calgary, while Napoli sit upon the top of the table. Because Inter Milan, they did win, but they won 3-2 to Torino. They're just not looking that good right now in Serie A. I don't know what's going on, but I will say Napoli looks so good. Scott McTominay, Lukaku, Kvaratskhelia all look so good. And they are 2 points clear with a better goal differential than Inter, which makes me feel pretty comfortable where they're at, just because Inter was obviously the most dominant defensive team in Serie A last year. And it seems like, Conte came in there, signed one Italian center back and said, hold my beer.
Yeah. That's why he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
If you get Lukaku in form, the guy can be so lethal, man. I mean, since he's gotten to Napoli, he's been fantastic. Conte's got him playing exactly the way he wants to. And really, when you put everything together, you have a motivated Napoli team with a coach who expects nothing less than to win every game. So, yeah. I mean, it's really the perfect recipe, I think, for them.
Extra motivation for Conte. He's won titles at both Inter and Juventus, and those are going to be the two teams more than likely that are going to challenge him.
Yep.
And I don't think he has bad blood with either club, but I wouldn't say when he leaves, he goes out on good terms.
No, probably not.
It's the X that you see that you're like, oh, I really don't want to say hi to her, but you keep it civil,
Right.
So we'll have to see. We'll have to see if that's even more motivation. But if there's any coach that's going to get the best out of Lukaku, it's Conte. The guy just works wonders with Lukaku. I don't know how, but I think that's going to be interesting. This top goal scorer race for Serie A is going to be really interesting. I mean, Thuram bagged a hat trick this week. He leads with 7. Retegui with 7 for Atalanta. Christian Pulisic with 5. So
Pulisic winning the Golden Boot would actually be insane. It's not gonna happen. I'm gonna call it now. It's not gonna happen. But Christian Pulisic winning a Golden Boot in the Serie A would be insane.
Nuno Tavares with 5 assists for Lazio as a left back is also something I didn't have on my. Dude? He's on crack apparently this year. I haven't watched much of Lazio, but I probably will not watch much of Lazio. But just interesting there. But that's all we have for today. We are going to be back, maybe next week for a nice fun episode and then a preview episode. So let us know if you want to see any content. We're starting to post more clips for our TikTok audience, for our YouTube audience. So definitely give us a like there or subscribe there. It means a lot, as we both have jobs. So this is just for fun. But thank you again. Follow us on Twitter at Fulltime Roundup, and we will see you next week.